Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always excited to dig into some new research.
Well, get this. Today we're talking wastewater surveillance,
Oh.
but with a twist. Forget treatment plants.
Interesting.
This study's looking at flood control channels as a source of public health data.
Wow, that's pretty unconventional. You don't often hear those two things in the same sentence.
Right. It's like CSI, wastewater edition.
Like that.
But seriously, the implications are pretty huge, especially for understanding vulnerable communities.
Yeah, that's a really important point. We often struggle to get a clear picture of health in those populations.
Exactly. So the study we're diving into is from Harrington and his colleagues.
Okay.
It was published in Environmental Science and Technology Letters. And the title, get ready for it, Environmental Surveillance of Flood Control Infrastructure Impacted by Unsheltered Individuals Leads to the Detection of SARS-CoV-2 and Novel Mutations in the Spike Gene.
Catchy title, I know.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but the findings are fascinating. So basically, they focused on these channels in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Because, and this is the sad reality, they're often sites for encampments of people experiencing homelessness.
Right, a population that's often underserved and overlooked when it comes to healthcare.
And that lack of access to things like sanitation, well, it means human waste ends up in these channels.
Which, as we've learned from wastewater treatment plant surveillance, can be a gold mine of information about what's circulating in a community.
Okay, I'm starting to see the logic here. But still, flood control channels, it seems a bit out there. Is there any precedent for this? Has anyone else tried this approach?
Actually, yeah, they have. There were some earlier studies in Las Vegas that used microbial source tracking to confirm fecal contamination in those channels.
Microbial source tracking.
Yeah. Basically, they can trace the origin of the bacteria like a fingerprint analysis.
Yeah.
So this new study builds on that knowledge.
So they're not just going in blind. They have a good reason to believe they'll find something useful. Okay, so they're collecting these samples from the flood control channels, but what are they actually testing for? What's going to give them these public health insights?
Primarily, they were looking for SARS-CoV-2 RNA.
The virus's RNA.
Yep. Using a technique called qPCR, and also whole genome sequencing. Not only could they see if the virus was present, but they could also identify specific variants and mutations.
Hold on, back up for a second. Whole genome sequencing. Why go to that level of detail? Couldn't they just see if the virus was there or not?
Well, sure, but whole genome sequencing, it gives you a much deeper understanding.
Okay.
It's like looking under the hood.
Yeah.
You can identify those tiny changes in the genetic code, those mutations that could signal new variants or tell us how the virus is evolving in this specific community.
So it's not just a yes or no answer. It's a much richer picture of what's happening with the virus.
Precisely. And to be extra sure that the virus they were finding was really coming from humans, they also measured levels of something called PMOV.
PMOV, what's that?
It's a plant virus. But here's the thing, it's commonly found in human waste. So it acts like a fingerprint, confirming, well, that allowed them to identify the specific variants present in the samples.
Okay.
And get this, in January 2022, they detected fragments of the alpha variant.
Wait a minute. Alpha? Wasn't that variant pretty much over by then?
Exactly. Alpha had peaked like a year earlier. Finding those fragments so long after its peak is really fascinating.
So what does that mean?
It challenges what we thought we knew about how long this virus can hang around.
Yeah.
Either in the environment or maybe even in some individuals.
You have to wonder, could there be other ghost variants out there circulating under the radar?
It's a real possibility, and it could have big implications for how we track and respond to outbreaks.
This is mind-blowing. So they found these lingering alpha fragments. What else did they find?
The whole genome sequencing also revealed something pretty remarkable. 3 brand new mutations in the spike protein, ones that had never been reported before.
Wow, new mutations. That sounds significant. Were they just a fluke, or could they be something more?
Well, one of them in particular, called Tire 63660 View, popped up in both of the flood channels. And then a few months later, they found it in the wastewater treatment plant data, too.
So this wasn't just a random blip. It seems like this mutation might have actually originated in this vulnerable community and then spread more widely.
That's what the data suggests, yeah.
That's both fascinating and a little bit concerning.
It really highlights how interconnected public health is. What happens in one community can have ripple effects, and this method gives us a way to potentially detect those ripples early on.
It's like we've been missing a crucial piece of the puzzle, and this study just slotted it into place. But hold on, there was something else about these mutations and the possibility of a cryptic lineage. What was that all about?
Right. So because they found these unique mutations, The researchers think there's a chance there might be a distinct version of the virus circulating within this community, a lineage that's flown under the radar of traditional methods.
A hidden branch on the virus family tree.
Exactly, evolving separately. It's a good reminder that viruses are constantly changing, and our usual surveillance methods might miss these subtle shifts.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. It's like this study uncovered a hidden layer of the public health landscape. We've been focused on the big picture, but there are these intricate details playing out beneath the surface that could have a major impact.
It really emphasizes the importance of thinking outside the box and going beyond traditional methods to reach vulnerable communities.
You know, it makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden within these unconventional data sources.
Right.
But let's zoom out for a second. We've talked a lot about the what of this study, the findings, the methods, but I want to dig into the so what. What are the implications of all this for public health? Why should we care about these cryptic lineages and novel mutations found in flood control channels?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this study shows us that flood control channels can be incredibly valuable sources of information, especially for understanding how diseases spread in hard-to-reach populations.
Okay.
We can glean insights that traditional surveillance just can't capture.
So it's not just a cool scientific finding, it has real-world applications. But how do we translate this knowledge into action? How can this data actually be used to improve public health?
Imagine using this data to create a real-time map of disease hotspots within homeless communities.
Okay.
That could guide things like mobile health clinics, targeted vaccination efforts, or even just the distribution of hygiene kits, meeting people where they are with the resources they need most.
That's a powerful image. It's about moving beyond the one-size-fits-all approach and tailoring interventions to the specific needs of different communities. This could be a game changer for public health equity.
It's about empowering communities with knowledge and resources to take control of their own health. And it's about recognizing that everyone deserves access to accurate and timely information regardless of their housing status.
This study is like a beacon shining a light on a population that's often overlooked and highlighting the need for more inclusive and responsive public health strategies. It's not just about finding the virus, it's about understanding the people and the systems that contribute to its spread.
Precisely. By understanding the unique challenges faced by people experiencing homelessness, we can develop more effective and compassionate interventions.
Okay.
It's not about blame or judgment. It's about meeting people where they are and offering support that's tailored to their needs.
This has been an eye-opening deep dive. We started with what seemed like a quirky, unconventional study, and we've uncovered a whole new layer of the public health landscape.